Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I am going to be doing my first TBR of the year for January 2019. And so this is going to be the first time I am going to be testing out my new TBR. We're going to see how it goes in the month of January. This will be quite interesting. So this month I will be reading one nonfiction, four single issues of a comic book, a genre read, a quarterly read, a Shakespeare play, a yearly read, and a quarterly read. So that's a lot to get through, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So my fiction read of the month is Without a Country by Elsa Kulin. This is also it's a translated work. It's originally written, I believe, in Turkish, and this is the little blurb that comes with it, because this is why I got the book. I didn't know anything else about the book. It was one of the Kindle first reads, because as a Prime member you get a free book every month. And basically the summary of the story is, as Hitler's reign of terror begins to loom large over Germany, Gerhard and Elsa Schliemann, like other German Jews, must flee with their children in search of sanctuary. But life elsewhere in Europe offers few opportunities for medical professor Gerhard and his fellow scientists. They then discover an unexpected haven in Turkey, where universities and hospitals welcome them as valuable assets. But despite embracing their adopted land, personal and political troubles persist. Military coups bring unrest and uncertainty to the country. Intermarriage challenges the cultural identity of Gerhard and Elsa's descendants, and anti-Semitism once again threatens their future in a place they call home. From World War II to the age of social media, one family's generations find their way through love and loss, sacrifice and salvation, tragedy and triumph, with knowledge hard won and passion felt. So I will be reading that as my fiction read for this month. It sounds really good, and I can't wait to get into it. So my nonfiction read of the month is going to be The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs by Steve Brusate, I think his name is. I hope I got that right. And he, so basically, this book chronicles the history of dinosaurs in their on planet Earth, as seen through the archaeological record. I did start reading this in the summer, but didn't finish, so I'll be starting over. I have this as an audiobook, and I really like science, so and I like dinosaurs, so this would be a really great and interesting read. All right, and then so for my comics of the month, I will be reading, the four that I'll be reading will be The Guardians of the Galaxy. The cover is done by Sean Christou and Chris Brunner, and the album that this cover is based on is by Far Side. It's called Bizarre Ride to the Far Side, and so I'll be listening to this album the week that I read this particular comic. My second comic is Doctor Strange, the annual that they did for Doctor Strange. During the year, usually at the end of the year, a comic book, a run of a comic will have an annual issue that they put out that has a series of short stories associated with that character. So that's what this is. The cover for this was done by Theodis Jones, and this is based on Designer's album Panda. So I'll be listening to that album as well. Then there is Gamora. She is one of the Guardians of the Galaxy. This cover is by Elizabeth Tork, and the inspiration for this came from artist's muse, and the album is Harlem World. Get that straight. So I'll be listening to that album. And the last comic that I'll be reading will be Mockingbird. This cover was done by Jeff DeCal, and he got the inspiration for this cover from the album Knowledge is King by Kool Moe Dee. So I'll be listening to the album when I read that particular book. These single issue comics, as you can see, are pretty short, so it won't be that long, and I'll just be able to listen to the album and see what I think about it. And then for my short stories, I will be reading the Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy 2018. The editor for this is N.K. Jemisin, who has won, I think, the Hugo Award 3 times. And the series editor, because she's a guest editor, this is a series they do every year, the series editor is John Joseph Adams. And so I got to meet both of them at and some of the authors of some of these stories at Comic-Con last year. I didn't even know they were going to be there. They happened to. I saw them on the list of things happening there, and it was like, I have to go. So I picked up this book, and so there are 20 short stories in here, and I'll be reading 2. And the 2 that I'll be reading are Rivers Run Free by Charles Pacer, and Destroy the City with Me Tonight by Kate Alice Marshall. So I'll be reading those 2 books from this. So this is the book that I'll be drawing all my short stories from for this year. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love sci-fi, but I haven't read much sci-fi on this channel. I think I've only read one sci-fi, or maybe a couple. I think the only one that I remember off the top of my head was Foundation. So this is giving me a chance to also delve into a genre that I really like, but haven't really read on this channel before. And now for the play that I'll be reading this month, I'll be reading Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, which is about, well, Julius Caesar. I'm not really sure the particulars of this play. I do know that he is assassinated in it, and but I will be reading this, and I hope it's as good as the other plays that I've read by Shakespeare. I'm going into this blind as well. Actually, the books I'm going to actually all these books blind. I don't really know much about them besides The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs, because I have read that before. But most of these books I'm really just going in blind. I don't really know much about them. Even the comics I'm reading, I know the character maybe, but not really their story. So at least in these books. So that's so I'm just going in blind. You gotta take risks. It's 2019, YOLO. And then my read for the quarter. My read for the quarter will be this, which is The First Man in Rome by Colleen McCullough. And this is about, well, basically focuses on Marius, who is a very big figure in Roman history. He plays a major part in, I would say, the dissolution of the Republic. It actually follows him. It even follows Sulla, who became his rival at one point. And so this is like a fictionalized version of those events. This is actually the first book in a series by her. I've heard about this book, and that was a very good book. I picked it up last year in Philadelphia for pretty cheap. I think like $2, and this thing is huge. It's about almost 600-700 pages. So this is my read for the quarter. I really look forward to reading it. I hope her writing's good. I think I may have started this before a long time ago, but I don't remember it. So I own it now, and so I hope that I enjoy reading this for the quarter. And last but not least will be my yearly reads. So my yearly reads, you may have, if you've been on this channel for a while, you may have seen this one already. I was actually supposed to read this as a semi-annual read last year, but it kind of fell by the wayside and I forgot about it. But this year I am going to read it, and that is The English and Their History by Robert Toombs. Now the reason why I am trying to go ahead and read this is that one of my friends bought this for me and said that if I read it for him and then told him about it, he would reimburse me for the book, and I could really use I think I'd pay like the $12.50 for it. So I'm going to try to read this by the end of the year so I can get that $12.50. And I also learned a little bit more about history. And this is actually one of the reasons why I want to, with my nonfiction read, kind of read stuff that isn't necessarily history, because I'll be in this. And also my next read is also history, and it is a behemoth. It is the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, and it's the unabridged version. I have it as an audiobook, and this audiobook is 120 hours long. If I finish it, it will be the longest audiobook I've ever read. The longest I've read so far is War and Peace, which was like 61 hours long, a little over 61 hours. So this would be quite a behemoth. I have a plan on how to tackle it. I think it's split up into like 10-hour parts, so I'm just going to maybe tackle 10 hours a month. We'll see. But I've always wanted to read this book because I'm really into history, and so this is what I'll be tackling this year. And last but not least, I keep forgetting this because it's something that kind of implemented not last minute, but it's kind of late in my thinking process, is my genre read for the month. And my genre read for the month, like I said, I'm reading young adult, new adult fiction for the year, and I'm probably going to read 12 of them, one a month, a little 10 to 12. And so I'm reading The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I've two people that I follow on Twitter have said it was great. I have no idea what it's about. I'm going to be going into probably most of these pretty much blind, just like someone said, oh, this is really good. Don't really know much of the story. So I'll be reading this. We'll see if it's good. Who knows? But hopefully it is a good read, and I'll be able to tell you guys about it at the end of the month. And I almost forgot, I also am going to be reading this month Vintage Sci-Fi, their Twitter account. I'm going to put it down in the description below. They're hosting a readathon. Basically, you read a vintage sci-fi book before, I forget what date it is. I think it's before maybe the 1960s or something like that, or I forget what date exactly it is. But you can read like any sci-fi book you want, but they kind of want it to be like an older sci-fi book. So I want to join in this as well. So I will also try to read, I'm not sure, I'm not going to really give it priority, but I do want to try to reread The Last and First Men by Olaf Stapledon. I talked about this in a tag video before, and now it's piqued my interest to try to reread it again and see what I think about it now. So I'm definitely going to do that. And also my shout out for today is going to be Scott from Book Invasion. He reads a ton of sci-fi, so if you like sci-fi, go check out his channel. He's also started a series called Booktubers, doing tags and cars, I believe, so definitely go check out his tag. He's done the postscript tag in his car, so definitely go and check that out. So that's it for me. That is my TBR. This is my first time trying this TBR out. If it's too much, of course I'll cut back on some things. Probably, I'm not sure what I'll get rid of, but I'll get rid of something if it's too much. But like I said, no pressure on me. Like, I feel like, aim for the stars, and you know what, you may actually hit the moon. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReads28, and also on Goodreads. The link to that's down in the description box below. So as always, keep reading.